Nothing matters, just their oneness. It's a very exalted philosophical plane to be operating on for an opera. It's not pretty little tunes. It's not, I feel pretty, oh so pretty. It's you and me are going to die together to fulfill our love. That's pretty heavy stuff. Well, it won the world over. In Paris in particular, Wagner was touted as a genius, as Eddie was, obviously. As a complete reformer of all the arts, not just music, but philosophy as well. He wrote his own poetry. Intellectuals outside the music world were reading Wagner's books and writing commentaries on them. He wrote a biography of Jesus. The man was ambitious. He was a monster as a human being, but virtually single-handedly overturned not only music, but the related arts. Franck, remember Franck? The one who wrote our symphony that we heard tonight? Was completely smitten, but could not show it. He showed it later in his music. He had a bit of reserve because he was a quiet person, quite the opposite character of Wagner. Wagner was a human monster in relationships with people, whereas Franck was a saint, literally considered a holy man by the people who knew him as a pillar of virtue. And yet, his music, in the last 10 years of his life, adopted and adapted the harmonic vocabulary of Tristan and Isolde. The spookiness, the gothic darkness, not the usual lighthearted, silly French clarity, no more of that. He was telling a deeper romantic story, but contained. He was not Wagner. His music has both qualities. Redemption is a mystical thing. And it's one of his fascinations, the notion of redemption. He actually wrote a long piece called Redemption, and large liturgical oratorio, the Beatitudes. He was fascinated by the metaphysics of his religion. And his expression of that was accented through the harmonic devices of the great master from Bayreuth, Richard Wagner. Prior to that, his music seems fairly commonplace, but the cross-fertilization of the great German with the great Belgian results in the symphony that we're going to hear tonight. Written 2 years before his death and heard maybe once or twice by Franck in the year before his death. He died in 1890, this piece came from 1888. It's in 3 movements. You'll find that the opening doesn't sound like symphony perhaps at first. It's very murky, very gothic, very spooky. Remember, this is the time, 1881 I believe is the date, that Gaston Leroux set his novel, The Phantom of the Opera. And this is the kind of menace, or the kind of atmosphere that is betokened by the music of Franck at times. You'll hear it in the opening of the symphony, and then you'll hear the other side of Franck. In the middle movement, you'll hear the religious side, the clean, easy chords, like an organist would play, accompanying a hymn. A beautiful melody held up by simple harmonies that darken here and there with it. Oh, there's a little hint of Tristan and Isolde hidden in the basses. You'll hear it accented, as it were, by the other taste in music. Is a l'autre goût. And the last movement is as close to joyousness as Franck could write. He was not necessarily bouncy, cheerful guy. He was kind of pious and a little stiff. Notable reports of his character said that he was perhaps a little dumb, perhaps stupid. He couldn't tell a good text from a bad text, and so he relied on his students to read poetry to him and tell him the difference. He didn't have a lot of literary or other than the Bible, and a few other things. He was not an intellectual that way. He was much more simple character. And so he had no fancy thoughts about these things, but he did have a devout heart. His music shows this, and the joy of his music is a bit muted, but it is authentic. Any questions on César Franck or the Symphony in D minor?